Okay, so I am 56 years old, and as of almost about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed finally with ADHD, which is autism and ADHD combined. Up until that point, I always thought there was something just not quite right about me. Um, I don't necessarily thought I was broken, but I think I wasn't exactly. I knew I wasn't the same as everybody else. And growing up, I always, considered myself to be the weird one of the group, the weird one of the family. I always considered myself to be eccentric. That was how I dealt with it, with being different, because I made it kind of like my cloak of armor, I guess. I just wrapped myself up in it, which reminds me that in the book, The Game of Thrones, in that series, Tyrion gives Jon Snow advice, and basically, he was being picked on and he was being called Lord Snow because, you know, of his birth. And basically, Tyrion tells him, let that be your title, let that be, you know, basically, he told them to embrace it. And that way it can't bother him. If he embraces it, let them call him Lord Snow. Let him become that. That is what it'll be. Basically, is what he told them. And I guess that's kind of what I did growing up. Is it's like, okay, I'm the weird one. Okay, I'll be weird. I'll be eccentric. I'll be whatever. This is who I am, what I am, and that is just me. I refuse to be like everyone else. Like all, the big fashions. People, you had to have Nikes or Reeboks or something like that, or you had to have certain clothes, or you had to have certain Calvin Klein, and those type of things. And for me, I just know why do I want to be like everybody else? It's boring. To me, it was boring just to be the same as everyone else. So, and I loved sparkly stuff. So whenever I could find, like, we went school clothes shopping, I would find something with strands of gold woven into it, like a flannel shirt with strands of gold woven into it. I remember that specifically. I loved that shirt, and I had a dress with bells on it, and just different things. I didn't dress all kooky, but I didn't dress like everyone else. And to this day, I don't dress like everyone else. I have an odd sense of style. But anyways, wow. If that doesn't prove my ADHD, I don't know what will. I'm just rambling on. Well, anyways, I was diagnosed with ADHD and autism after my middle son was diagnosed. We knew when my younger two boys, when they were little, we knew they had ADHD because they had been evaluated, because they were the typical, ADHD boys, especially my youngest. We called him the Energizer Bunny on speed because he just would not stop. And my middle son was more reserved, but he did have some stuff, going on with him that was kind of hyperactive in a way. And he was very inattentive, very much so. Well, it turns out that he had inattentive type of ADHD, while my youngest son had the hyperactive part. And so it was an interesting combo with those two growing up. But my middle son, he had other things going on with him, but they attributed that to the ADHD. And I don't know why I never caught it, that it was autism, because they have an older brother, my oldest son, who is very much autistic. And he is able to take care of himself to a point, live on his own and stuff with help, things like that. But I never understood why I didn't catch, what my middle son, but he was autistic. But when I talked to the doctor about it, she said, well, your frame of reference or your idea or picture of what autism is what your oldest son is. So you wouldn't have caught it. And you have to remember it's a spectrum. And part of the reason why I didn't catch what my middle son was going on with him was because, and this is what got me to go get looked at, was all the time he was growing up and the different odd, quirky, weird things that he would do were things I did when I was young. And I was, well, he's just taking after me. He's just this way because that's what I did, and then I thought, well, Sam was just like me when he was young or when I was young. And then it clicked and I reversed it and I'm like, I'm just like him. And it was like this light bulb goes off, this hello, here's your sign, moment. And it's like, yeah, maybe I better go get tested. But how I got him tested and how it opened my eyes to go get him tested is because I had kind of been wondering about it, and he didn't get this until he was like 15 or 16. And I'd been kind of wondering about it, a little questioning here and there. And I talked to my daughter and we were kind of discussing it. And she thought, well, yeah, you should get him tested because I really think he is. And oh, by the way, yeah, I am too. And I'm like, okay. So, but anyways, and I had thought about it and I hadn't worked up the nerve to talk to him about it because I didn't know how to approach him on it. Well, then the day come where he had an eye doctor's appointment. We went to the eye doctor and we were sitting in there with the eye doctor, and the eye doctor just started talking. He's like, well, yeah, because of his autism, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? He goes, well, yeah, because of his autism. I'm like, what? And it was just like he knew he was autistic and that he figured we knew, but it was just never talked about because it was never brought up or anything. And so to him, it was just like just a conversation. Well, because of his autism, the A, B, and C. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he just kind of looks at me like, like he was dumbfounded. Like, what do you mean you don't, what? So after the appointment, and I talked to my son on the way home, I said, I was kind of wondering, and he said, yeah, I want to get tested. I want to know. I've been wanting to for a while, but I haven't been able to talk to you about it because, whatever. So we went in and got him the evaluation, and yes, indeed. So he's ADHD. And after we got his, and I got to thinking more, and then that whole thing come about. Well, this whole why I never thought nothing about him was because it's the way I acted. And then, bing, someone just hands me this huge glaring sign. Hey, dummy, it's because you are like him. So go get yourself tested. So I went and had. I had a lot of evaluations online, things like that, which they give you a sense of, yeah, you should probably, it doesn't mean that you are, but you should probably go look into it. And I took several of them. And they all pointed to the same thing. So I went to my doctor. I had already been diagnosed with ADHD, already went through all that, had an ADHD coach, stuff like that. And that had happened the previous year, I believe. And I was talking to her, and she agreed with all the testing and stuff that I had done online. She said, yeah, if it's all coming up like that, then yes, you are. However, I do not believe it's in my official medical record. I don't believe she ever wrote it down. She just agreed with it all and said, yes, it is, So technically I'm self-diagnosed, technically not, because the doctor agreed with all the testing because of things that she's seen and things that whatever, she agreed. So there was really no need for me to go through any formal testing. However, I don't think it's actually in my record, probably because she herself did not do the testing. But I have found out that self-diagnosis is an actual valid thing. But I find danger with that when people are self-diagnosing with this because they don't understand the complexity of it. They could just be like, okay, maybe today this is how I feel about that, but it's not how it is. Because autism is something that affects you on a daily basis. So is ADHD. And the combined type is maddening because it's almost like two polar opposites fighting each other for the same space. Like I used to talk about my son, my oldest son, how I wish I could have just take his hand, like he's walking and one foot in one world, the other another, like in our world, and his other foot in his world. Like he's walking between the two worlds. And for me, I said, I'd like to hold his hand and walk in his world. And I never realized that, yes, in fact, I was walking in his world. That I was already walking in his world. And being the combined type, I am not only walking one foot in the neurotypical world and one foot in the neurodivergent world, I am also walking on a tightrope line of ADHD and autism because they are fighting each other. They're opposites. Like one has to have maddening chaos and the other has to have, structure and whatnot. Although ADHD, it's maddening chaos, but you need the structure. Like I will keep my house a total disaster because I have piles of things everywhere, but I know where everything is. But yet I can't handle the fact that there are piles of everything everywhere, and I maddeningly want to get it cleaned up. And I'll go on manic days where I will clean. It's rare and few between, but my house is not a total complete disaster. It's just I do have piles of things in certain rooms, and I'll go through and I'll clean, and it'll be proof fine, and I'll feel so much better. So that just everything is just relieved. But it doesn't stay that way long because then it's, there's a clear spot right there. I can start a new pile. It's like that ADHD hands rubbing together with an evil grin on, and like, I got a spot now, And that happens. And then sure enough, it fills right back up again. And my husband is ADHD as well, and he tends to do the same thing. Although he has the kitchen table is devoted to his stuff, and the dining room table is devoted to my stuff, basically. Well, although some of his stuff is on mine too. So, but yeah. But I struggle every day with things. Like I have a hard time being around a lot of people for an extended period of time if it's really loud, really noisy, whatever. Like sometimes, it could take me a day or two before I'm back to normal again. The last big event that I went to, and it wasn't really all that big, but it was my youngest and a bunch of his pals from school. We all went to a shooting range, and then we went to a restaurant, ate, and then we went bowling and pool, and and it was a long day. A lot of kids there. Oh, probably about 5, 6 of them. That was still a lot. A lot of people at the restaurant, a lot of people, at the bowling alley, things like that. And by the end, I was sitting in my seat, I just couldn't stand it. I wanted to run out of there, but I knew that would be socially unacceptable, that I could not just leave. I did find myself get up and walking, to the door and back, or just to get away from where I was sitting, from one excuse or another, But, and it was really hard towards the end there. I couldn't, no. But by the time I got done, and by the time I got home, and one thing after another that I had to get done before I could actually relax, by the time I got into bed to where I could sit and relax, I was done. I shut down. I didn't want to talk, didn't want to do nothing but just do what I wanted to do. And I know that irritated my husband quite a bit, and he probably thinks I was being a jerk. And we've had issues ever since that day. But it took me like 2 days, 2 or 3. No, Friday. It took me Friday until Tuesday, Monday, when I had the day off and I didn't have to be around anybody. Because the next day I had to go to work, and the next day it was church and then work, and then and then I finally had a day off. I could stay at home and clean, and clean, which made me feel better. Um, and like I can go to Walmart. I'll be fine on the way there, talking to my husband. Everything's fine. We have a good, nice conversation. We get there. I have energy. We're going through the store, and halfway through everything, I'm starting to feel a bit tired. By the time I get back out to the truck and we are on our way home, I have shut down. I'm quiet. Look out the window and I just stare and I just think, I just in my own little world. And my husband, he gets upset because, well, he'll ask me what's wrong. Well, I'm tired. Well, why are you tired? All we did was went to Walmart. Yeah. For you, that's all you did is go to Walmart and walk around. You with the hyperactive ADHD, that was heaven for you. Me, I have a severe inattentive type of ADHD, but actually they're finding out it's not actually inattentive. It's too much info, too much paying attention to everything. It's like over attentive. So you really should change that. It's not an attention deficit. It's an attention over, I don't even know what the word would be, overly attentive. Because you take in everything, just everything, and it tires me out so bad. And then with my autism and sensory, and like I have to have earplugs in when I go through Walmart, sound deafening ones. It doesn't cut out all the sound. I can still hear voices, but it cuts out the background, which does help tremendously, which I use at work, which helps out tremendously. And the lights, I can't get away with wearing sunglasses through Walmart, although I could, I suppose. But I try not to do something like that because then I get really, there I am masking to make neurotypicals feel fine. Yeah, and that's the other thing. And now I'm getting off the subject, but I want to change it actually to this. Neurotypical, what it must be like. I do find myself as an ADHDer wondering, really, how does a neurotypical brain work? How quiet is it in their brains? Like, I've been told that they don't think in words, they think in pictures or impressions or something like that. Like, they don't have that inner, people call it the inner narrator, the inner monologue going off in their head all the time. And it makes me wonder, I mean, I think in pictures and words. A lot of times that's how I remember is by picture. But there's always that voice, that always something going on in my head. It's not like I'm hearing voices, like a schizophrenic type tendency of hearing voices. Not like that. It's my voice. It's me talking. It's me narrating whatever else going on, whatever, it's me figuring things out, or me, pondering stuff, or whatever it is. But like, my memory is crap. Like, my working memory is totally shot. But yet I can remember random things to the minutest detail. I can remember, you can ask me where something is in my little pile of crap that I have, and I can tell you, oh, it's over there under this, right next to that, by this color of thing. I could tell you that. Like, at work, if I know where something specifically is, I can tell, customer, where. Although sometimes with my autism, the words won't come out and I can't seem to, I know what it is I want to say. It's just, I just can't get them out. It just depends on what my day is like. And I won't be able to find the words. And And I have a great coworker who helps me sometimes, and he knows I struggle at work, even just running the cash register that I've ran for 3 years. And a lot of times I just don't remember what I'm supposed to do. Like, what button am I supposed to? It'll just leave my head, and I'll be like, what? And he's one of my son's friends at school, and he works with me. And I have told him at times, like, I don't know what I would do without you. You basically hold my hand at work sometimes, basically. I mean, he's like my fourth son to me, is what he's like. And he will help me. He'll just, like, if I can't figure it out on the on the cash register, he'll just walk over and click whatever it is I need to click. Like, there you go. Thank you. And he knows. And like, if I can't get the words out, or if I can't say something, then he'll be like, oh, okay, it's blah blah blah. He'll say to the customer. So he's really good like that. But I have a boss who has no patience whatsoever for my disability, and sometimes he gets it, sometimes he's helpful, because I learn slow. I am smart. I am not unintelligent. I have a high IQ, not as high as my older three. Well, four. Yeah, all of them. Actually, they're all pretty smart. Kayla's, my oldest son, is genius level IQ, and I suspect my younger two are as well. My daughter, she is probably up there too. She's extremely smart, extremely empathetic, a wonderful, wonderful woman. She is. I'm so very much proud of her. But I am smart, and it's not that I don't have brains. It's just I learn slow. Things don't get stuck into my head. I have to do things repeatedly over and over a period of time before it sticks in my head. I mean, it amazes me that these people at work, the new people at work, you show them once or twice, and oh, hey, I got it. Not a problem. Me, it took me a month or more to learn our closing routine, to be able to, do the closing without a whole bunch of help. And after 2.5 years, I'm able to do it without notes. But as long as I had those notes on the things I was doing, I could do it. But I just, and if my boss doesn't keep it simple and short, he'll lose me. And he's worse than an Energizer bunny on speed, like I used to call my youngest son. He's like a hummingbird on speed plus times 1,000. He's super fast, talks super fast, flutters about everywhere. Sometimes my ADHD brain just loves it. It's like, yeah, it's like a dopamine rush to be able to challenge myself to keep up with all of his words and to keep up behind him, and to keep, sometimes it's a dopamine rush to just listen and just, click into it. Other times, I guess maybe it's the autism part of me is just like, huh? Like what? And I'm lost. And if he doesn't, and if he doesn't say things directly, instead of like a roundabout way of saying things, if it's not done directly, then I don't understand. And I make him tell me again, and then he'll rephrase it, but in that roundabout way. And I'm like, no, you need to tell me exactly, like this. And my assistant manager, she's pretty good about that, because I've told her, get rid of all the extraneous stuff. Just tell me exactly what you want to tell me. Like, they handed me a 4-page thing one time to read from corporate, and it was only 2 things, like 2 sentences on there basically is all I really needed to know. But all the excess stuff totally overloaded me, which totally got lost. The 2 things totally got lost. I'm like, look, I handed it to her. I'm like, you just tell me exactly what it is. This needs to be, and she told me, I'm like, it's just those 2 things. So why do I need all this other bullcrap with it? Because this is not even, it's fluffer, filler. I mean, there's no point in it. And then you lose me. Just, A, B, and C, that's it. And my boss has a tendency to A, B, and C, the whole entire alphabet, plus every color in the world and whatever. I mean, he doesn't get it. And then he gets frustrated with me if I ask him for clarification. And then he'll re-clarify in the same convoluted way, but saying it different. It's like, dude, no, please help. um, and then I have to have everything the same. Everything the same. And I hate when my boss comes to work, because a lot of times he's gone for vast amounts of time, stretches of time, weeks, months, or whatever, leaving the assistant manager in charge, and everything is a certain way. But when the boss comes back, literally everything changes opposite. Like our clipboards that are up on the wall. They're always up on the wall, one on one side, one on the other side. When he comes back, he flips them. The money for our change fund is always from the lowest bill to the highest bill, front to back. Well, when he changes it, it's the highest to the lowest. I mean, it drives me insane. It just locks me right up. Just having the rotators in the wrong spot, from the stock stuff that you put out to the trash one. He'll have them flipped. I made him switch them the other day when he come back. I'm like, I cannot do this, Alvin. I cannot do this. This locks me up. I cannot have it this way. It's different. It has to be. I made him change it. It was a really heavy one too, because I was gonna do it, but it was really heavy and I couldn't really move it, so I made him do it. And he just kind of, he did it, but it's like, Alvin, this is different. I can't. If it's different, I can't. And he's done something different with the keys. We have two sets of keys, and he's done something different with them. Can't quite figure it out what he's done with it, but there's something different about them. Not only that, but these switches where they're placed on the thing, so they're different spots now. But he did something else to the keys. I think he added keys and took keys off. I don't know. But that's totally different. That's totally freaking me out right now. And then when I finally figured out all the cigarettes, where all the cigarettes are and who has what cigarette, and then they go and they change it. They add more cigarettes plus change the positioning. And I'm like, now I got to reload. And then I had this one customer that comes in, orders the same cigarettes all the time, but then come in one day and just to mess with me, got a different color of that type of cigarette, right? And I got it for him, and he's like, no, I was just joking. I want the kind I normally get, because there's like red or green, and normally he gets the green. He asked for red. What screwed me up on that is there's so many people that come in and ask for the red. He's like one of the only ones that asked for the green. So I always knew him for the green. So that messed me up for months. When he would come in, I would be like, which one is it? Is it the red or the green? Is it the red or the green? And it messed me up. And I finally got to the point now where it's like, it's not a problem anymore. I'm back on the same keel. Just things like that. It's immensely difficult. And people don't understand that. They're like, oh, it's just a quirky little thing. No, it's not. It's hard. Sometimes I love being this way, because I know a lot of times it has saved me from very bad things. For me not understanding socially some things has saved me from some very bad things. Now, maybe if I understood these things, maybe I wouldn't have got myself in that spot where I had to be saved. Or maybe I would have understood, and maybe it would have been fine with me. I don't know. Like, I would have done those things because I don't know. But it's hard, but there are also some very enjoyable things. And I'm starting to unmask, starting to be myself, and I'm trying to find out who that is. And just when I felt like I was able to be free at home and to be safe at home, my husband now has been like, well, it's too much for me. Well, whatever. And now I feel like I can't anymore. So I feel like I'm being cut off with that. So that's difficult too. Very difficult. I don't know. But there's more later.